to
for,
testify.
it's for, yes, it's factual testimony related to Skip and Body.
Okay. So counsel, I stole your thunder,
I appreciate the thunder being stolen. My name is Russ Anderson. I'm with Bertone Pacini and Hasbrook Heights. We represent GDB International as it relates to this A variance, which is an appeal of the zoning officer's decision related to the denial of a certificate of occupancy. We are going to present testimony tonight through Sunil Bagari, who's standing to my right, who's the president of GDB International, to talk about the nature of the business that's going to be happening at 220 Shreve Street and how it relates to the bigger process of their business. And then we're going to tie it back to how it has been a change from the previous user who was there, and then we're going with what steps are going forward, specifically as it relates to the Mount Holly address. You know, the facts that underpin the zoning officer's denial were a reasonable but clearly fundamental mischaracterization of what the business is intended to do here in Mount Holly. The denial was based on the idea that the business could be the result of an objectionable fire, and you're going to hear from Mr. Bagaria as to the fact that there is no enhanced risk because there's no heat, there's no solvents, there's no nothing at this location that would cause any sort of an enhanced fire risk, and certainly not one that would result in an objectionable fire. Based on what happens at the Mount Holly facility, or what will be happening at the Mount Holly facility, it has the same fire risk as if the grocery store burned down. There's the presence of material, but nothing that would cause it to incinerate or anything else. So with that said, I'd like to call witness Mr. Bagaria. If he could be sworn in, that would be huge help. Straight.
I'm sorry, Mr. Vergara, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth before this board?
Yes, I do.
And would you do me a favor and please spell your first and last name?
Sunil is my first name.
Sunil, okay.
S-U-N-I-L. Bagaria, B-A-G-A-R-I-A is my last name.
Very good, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Bagaria, if you would you give us a little bit of background of you and the company and what you do on a general perspective?
Good evening to the board and good evening to the members of this town. Our company, GDB International, what we do is we provide recycling and sustainability solutions to help companies achieve their zero waste goals. With our efforts, the companies are able to reduce their landfill burden. Earlier, the material or the scrap or the waste that would be going to landfill is now captured through our facilities and converted into valuable raw materials. And that is what sustainability is all about. That we as a society, we all know, America, our country, we are a consumer-based society. We do consumption good, we do a lot of consuming, right? Per capita consumption is the largest in the world, but our recycling is the lowest in the world. So to lead a sustainable lifestyle, what we need to do is to capture what should be captured in the first place and converted into products from our waste stream. That's what we do as a company.
Thank you. Now, as it relates specifically to the location here in Mount Holly, what is the plan for this location?
So, in January 2022, almost 15 months back, was when we came to see the facility. The previous owner of that facility, Amcor Big Corporation, what they were doing is they were melting plastics. They had 3 extruders where they were melting plastic and making plastic packaging. And they were there for a long time, I think, in the town. So our initial reaction was that if we buy this building, it will be a great place to put up recycling extruders because extruders are already there. So once the previous owner moves out, we can start a recycling, plastic recycling operation at this facility. But after we bought the building in April of 2022, and when we delved into the building, when the engineers came to the building, it was found out that this is not the right building to put those expensive machines for recycling. The facility has only 3 loading docks, and as per our plan, we needed 15 loading docks. The ceiling height of almost all the small buildings on this site is very less to accommodate the height of our machines. And also geographically speaking, this was much south than we wanted. So when we closed on the building in April of 2022, we decided that we will not make this building as our plastic recycling facility, but a clean and dry sorting facility. So give me 2 minutes to explain what I mean by sorting facility. See, in our houses, right, we all produce scrap. We produce Ziploc bags, we produce potato chip bags, we produce spectacles, which you don't use, markers which we don't use. All these items, we don't have even though we want to recycle it, we don't know where to send it, right? And ultimately, it ends up going into landfill. But there are companies in our country which will take all these items, and there are hundreds of other items that we produce at a household level. These are clean and dry items. Individually, they have value for recycling. So there is a company out there which will recycle Ziploc bags, plastic flexible packaging. But they don't have any use for markers, even though markers are made from a different type of plastic. But there are companies which will recycle what is known as rigid plastic, and markers will be part of that, and they can use that plastic. So what we do, our company does, is after collecting all this post-consumer scrap at your household level, it will come to our facility, and we will have conveyor lines where it is semi-automated conveyor line. There will be people as well as infrared light to sort different streams, and those streams individually have value, and those streams have homes. So we can, after sorting, we can send a Ziploc bag bale, a truckload of Ziploc bag to a company that recycles and makes plastic pellets, which can then be used to make garbage bags. So in short, this facility, what it was intended for, did not suit our purpose, and then we decided to put in a dry sorting facility. This facility is not a solid waste handling facility. This facility is not a MRF. It is not a transfer station. This is small boxes containing different plastic or paper recyclables will come to the facility where our people will sort it and then send it to other recycling companies, which will then melt it and make recycled plastic granules.
As a part of the process that's planned here for Mount Holly, are there any caustic solvents that are used in your process?
Oh, no. There is no solvent or chemicals. This is a dry sorting facility.
Is there any heat sources or fire used to melt plastics or anything that would otherwise increase the risk of a fire?
No. We are not converting the scrap into plastic pellets. Originally, that was the intention, but after we found out the limitations of this facility, we went ahead and bought another facility in Branchburg, New Jersey, and that's where the machines that were supposed to come here are already installed there. In October, it will be a big opening, and the mayor of the town, Bridgewater and Branchburg, they will be all coming. So because of the limitations of this facility, this will be mostly a receiving, sorting, and shipping plant.
Is there going to be any kind of equipment installed in the facility here in Mount Holly?
Mostly conveyors, and then there are 2 balers. Balers is a machine that will compress and reduce the volume of your plastic scrap. That way you optimize the freight cost. So it's operated, like a compression machine, you can say. And there will be 2 or 3 long conveyors where people will be standing, on the side of the conveyor to pick the right type of plastic.
So then, Mr. Bergaria, just to refresh everyone's recollection, when the material comes in to the facility, it's in one form. When it leaves the facility, it's in the same form, but just grouped with like other materials.
Precisely.
Okay.
Together, it's of no use. Separated, it makes value, it has value, and there are companies which will accept it. So that's what we will do.
Okay. And also, again, to refresh everyone's recollection, the purpose, when you initially considered this property, was to use as a recycling facility. But for purposes that are now not related to, that are related to the supply chain, it makes no sense to use this facility as one to create plastic pellets or break down materials. There's no chopping, there's no breaking, and there never will be for reasons other than.
See, this facility will not have grinding or repelletizing or cleaning. It will not have, wash tanks that will clean the plastic. Some of the companies that we will send our scrap to after sorting will probably be doing that because that's what they do. But this facility will have none of that. It's a dry facility, Mr. Anderson. Dry facility, we receive dry goods, it's sorted, and it is baled. And I have extended, some township residents have reached out to us. We have extended and told them kindly come see our facility. It is open. Whatever you see is what we are going to do. So, and that invitation is always open, any day, every day to come, And just to add a side note, see, we are not coming to this town as, corporate profit seekers or something like that. No. We are like one of you. Our company is like one of you. We have 3 facilities in New Jersey. This will be our 4th facility. 30 years back, we started this with very small, humble beginnings. My brother who's sitting in the audience, he's a cardiologist. He's a cardiologist with Virtua Hospital System. And with his encouragement, with his initial financial help, we started this small company. Today, we are 400 people strong company. And I am a living example. My 400 family members in my company are living example of what an American dream is about. And even though we have facilities in 6 states, New Jersey has always been our home, will continue to be our home. Sometimes companies tell us, are you crazy? Why are you expanding in New Jersey? It is so expensive to work here, so expensive to manufacture here. You should move to Pennsylvania, next door, go to Pennsylvania. I said, no. Our competitors have moved to Pennsylvania. We have not. We have over 350,000 square feet facility in New Brunswick, South Brunswick, Branchburg. And with your blessing, we will have this facility in your town. We are responsible company. We are recycling, we are as environmental friendly company as you will ever see, as you will ever come across. You can spread around our company. So this is a very nice small thing I want to share with you. So New Jersey is one of the only 3 states in our country. One of the only 3 states that have passed a minimum recycled content bill. Minimum recycled content. Let me explain you what this bill is. By this bill, that means we are one of the only 3 states that will make mandatory come January 1st, 2025, that if a company wants to sell a black garbage bag, a trash bag that we all use, it cannot be made from virgin plastic. It has to have a minimum, hence the word minimum recycled content, minimum of 20% recycled plastic. Where will that recycled plastic come from? If you allow us to put this facility here, and then we'll recycle your Ziploc bags, your newspaper bags, your garment bags, your mattress bags, your shopping bags, that will go into making. Just giving you an example. There are many products that will need recycled plastic. We need to set up an example that we are just not talk, oh, we should take care of the environment, oh, we are not doing enough, oh, our oceans are getting, wasted, all these things. Let's set up an example. Senator Bob Smith did, and Amit, please give some of these papers to the people here. So we care about what we do. Our company has been featured on NBC, CBS, NPR, God knows, because they value our input, they understand what is needed. And today's testimony, I want to be here. Please ask as many questions as you want. When you go home, you should be satisfied when you go home that yes, this company which is going to come will put us on the recycling map. So please feel free to ask. We are here.
Thank you, Mr. Bagaria. For the board's recollection, this property sits in limited industrial district. The use is allowed, under the terms of 149, 131. And we've met all the performance standards as we set forth in the application, which is set forth at 149, 135. As it stands right now, as Mr. Bagaria has testified to, it is a dry facility, it's a sorting facility. There is no increased risk of an objectionable fire simply because there is no heat source or anything that would cause such a fire. Otherwise, Target would be in trouble under that statute. I concur with Mr. Bagaria. We welcome questions as it relates to the use specifically that's going to be at this facility. And if it turns out that we can answer those questions, we have Mr. Bagaria and a few other people in the audience that can answer other related questions regarding the specific use we're talking about.
So counsel, is it fair to say, Mr. Bagaria, that no emissions will be generated from the site?
Oh, no.
Okay, so you swear to that, that's part of your.
Oh, yeah. This is
And, just making sure.
Of course.
And the facility that you're describing, the dry sorting facility, is there any DEP or other environmental permitting that's required to engage in this activity at this or any site?
the facility we are putting in branch, but it
Well,
has.
we're not talking about
Oh,
Branch,
just
but
here.
Oh, no.
No.
There is nothing.
No permitting?
No,
Okay, you
absolutely.
understand that if permitting is required or any emissions are generated, that
But
would
we are not
change,
emitting
the-
any.
well, that would change the circumstances. Okay, so you're tied to that use, and you, correct?
Absolutely, and if to the extent that if the use were to change from a dry sorting facility, then we would seek whatever approvals were necessary in order to make that
Well,
occur.
that was gonna be my next question, is whether you agree that you're tied to this testimony, that you have to operate it if the board thinks it's within the permitted uses, but you have to operate it consistent with your testimony tonight, with that limitation. You understand that?
Yes.
And I don't have any further questions for Mr. Bavaria.
Okay, there's some other performance standards in the
Sure.
ordinance, maybe you could just go through some of those.
Sure.
One of them is vibration. How do you do all this sorting and stuff? Is there any machinery involved?
So there is
Noise,
conveyors.
vibration?
There are conveyors which will be put inside the building.
To be in the
So first
building?
of all, there is nothing outside.
Okay.
Nothing will be done outside. Conveyors, long conveyors, with the material will move slowly, and then it will be picked. There are people assigned, or they will be picked through infrared. 2 conveyors will have infrared sorting, and the material will be, similar material will be picked and put in Gaylord boxes, which will then be taken to a baling machine where it will be compressed.
And that's inside a building?
All inside the building. All inside.
All the activity will take place inside the building.
Totally. 100%.
Okay, how about, where are you gonna store this stuff when it's just all combined? Is it gonna be outside in the storage area or in a?
No, this is 140.
95,000 square feet.
95. This is a big building.
Okay, so it'll all be inside, all
It will
this,
be all
all
inside.
material.
Because once you put outside, it may get wet, then it
Yeah,
will
oh,
reduce
right.
the desirability from recycling point of view. So it is in our best interest to store it inside.
And what about the amount of truck traffic that deliver this in, take it out? What kind of volume are we talking about?
So we are talking about 2 to 3 trucks a day coming in and 1 to 2 trucks a day going out at the peak of it. So initially one because when we start to ramp up, this is I'm giving you the peak information. But initially it will be 1 to 2 trucks a day coming in when we will start the operation. Then
These operations, how close are the residents out there? I know on the perimeter of it, how close are these operations to the residents that are out there?
how
These buildings?
The entirety of the 224 Shreve Street is largely vacant.
Okay,
And there's another, I think it's a welding facility that's in the back corner there.
okay.
It's on the other side of that where there's a house. So if we're talking a few hundred feet at a minimum to get from our property to the closest residence.
I'm directly across the street from them. I'm with
We'll
them.
hold off the public comment until we get to, thank you.
So I have one question.
please.
So you stated it was not a, I forget the term right now, a, transfer station. Where do you source the material that you're sorting? I mean, is there no, there's no, I mean, it's not garbage, where do you get the material that's gonna be sorted?
So the material will come in small boxes through UPS. That is one way of getting the material in the facility. But it will be coming in one truck. It's not like for every box UPS coming to deliver to us. You know, it's a one small truck that they will deliver a day. The boxes will be on that UPS truck. That is one way of getting it. And then some of the material will come from our other facilities in New Jersey. You know, if we have more capacity of sorting here. So we have a similar sorting operation in New Brunswick as well. This will be a second sorting operation, cleaning and sorting operation here. So our company truck will bring material
I
to it.
understand that, sir, I just don't understand, it's coming in a box, but what's in it, you know?
In it will be,
It's bags mixed with, markers, but mixed with what else? I mean,
oh, like, so there are 2 types of streams that we generate, that we recycle. Commercial, so for example, a store like Walmart. We service Walmart in 6 states in the country, New Jersey being one. So Walmart as a retailer produces hangers, produces plastic film, produces shopping bags, produces cardboard boxes in which they get their products to be displayed in the stores. All of this material, they will never bale it individually, because suppose cardboard box will only go to a paper mill. They don't have any use for hangers. So they put everything together. Our company truck goes to Walmart's DC, what is known as a distribution center, picks up that bale, which is known as a mixed scrap bale. So different items, individually they have, each has value. We will pick that bale and then we will sort hangers, we will sort plastic film, we'll sort grocery bags, cardboard, paper, pill bottles. They are all sorted and then again aggregated and compressed into a bale to be sent to those individual recycling companies that accepts that stream. So that's the commercial side of receiving material in our facility. Then there is a residential side of receiving in our facility, where households they use boxes to put in. There is a list of items that is provided to them that is acceptable. It's put into those boxes. If you come to our facility, there's a lot of material there. You can see a lot of boxes that when you open it, it needs sorting, that we will do, and then ship it to a company that will be dealing in recycling that particular stream. So 2 ways the material will come to our facility: by our company truck from North Jersey, or by UPS trucks. They will come to deliver it.
in a comment you made earlier to the engineer, you mentioned cleaning very briefly. Can you explain how you clean the items at the facility?
cleaning, I mean, there is, sometimes in the box, there will be some paper. People put something in there that is not belonging in there. So that needs to be taken out. It's not like cleaning by water or cleaning by
Again, I
solvent.
just wanted to clarify
Yeah,
that,
yeah,
we
yeah.
know
No,
solvents,
okay.
water, cleaning.
No, no,
is
no, no,
stored
no.
at the facility.
That will not happen. That does not happen in this facility.
So I have a question. So you said the process of cleaning. So when you get items that you're not, supposed to get, what's your process then? So what do you do with them? So you say you get a box of hangers and you have paper or whatever other items that you don't.
That's a
take.
good question.
Where
So
do you-
sometimes,
what do you do with those?
yeah, so 3 to 5% throwaways, we call it. In any recycling or in any sorting process, there will always be what is known as an undesirable percentage that comes out, an undesirable fraction, we call it. So that material, either we will send it to landfill or waste to energy. There are plants that accept material to burn it to produce, to produce energy. Coventa being one, we have many plants in New Jersey and Pennsylvania. So that's where it will be.
And just to be clear, that does not happen in the Mount Holly facility.
Right,
Whatever,
it should be the-
whatever
another
process
facility.
gets pulled out, it goes somewhere else.
Yeah. Totally.
Quick question. What type of trucks are we talking about coming in and or going out? Are they tractor trailers? Are they
There could be 20
Box
feet
trucks.
straight jobs, they call it straight jobs. Sometimes a tractor trailer, a 48-foot trailer, which is a tractor trailer, that may come. A trailer may come to pick it up.
I have another question, in regards to that. You said that you have a client, your customer or client base is like big retail, right? Big
Oh, yes.
retail. My next question, you said you have residents also. So will residents of Mount Holly, like we have a lot of them sitting in this audience, would we be able to drop off stuff to your facility, or what is that process like?
For a small fee. You can drop off, but it has to meet the, we will be more than happy to give a handout, but that, when they come to drop off, that should not be counted as number of trucks coming. I want to make sure. So,
Talked about, traffic, what do we do with operational hours?
operational hours, 8 to 3, 8 to 4, whatever.
No crazy nights with trucks coming in now?
No.
Yeah, it's not a third shift place, it's not anything of that nature. So,
We have
Monday to
receiving
Friday,
hours.
7 days, how many days per week?
Generally, it is 5 days a week, but sometimes if the load is heavy, then we run one more day, which is Saturday. Sunday is always closed.
Any other members of the board have questions for Mr. Bagaria? Professionals?
So,
Oh.
yeah, so is it fair to say that this operation would separate by stream? And if you're able to get a bunch of hangers from Walmart, you sort them, put them into one bale, and all the chip bags and stuff like that goes into another bale of like items. So it's just sorting things by like streams to send somewhere else?
100%. Totally, this is exactly what we are doing. Making it individual grade of bales that particular recycling company will then accept it, and they will pay us for when they buy our scrap.
Did you want to address which specific, the code in terms of the use, the industrial use, and what it says in the chapter in terms of how it fits in?
Well,
Maybe
it's,
somewhat broad.
we certainly can. The ordinance calls for the limited, industrial district, allows for any industrial use, allowed under the, pull out the exact term here. The zone is designed for all industrial and wholesale uses permitted in the township. The intensity of operation shall not exceed the limitations imposed by the performance standards herein set. And as our gentleman professional over here was going through some of those. We've met the noxious fumes, odors, there are none, noises, there are none, vibrations, there are none, risk of fire, there is none. But we met all the performance standards specifically as set forth in 149, 135. So we're hoping that the board will see its way to reversing the zoning officer's decision and granting the C of O that was requested by GDB International.
Any other comment by the professionals? All right, seeing none, we're gonna open up comments to the public, and we will take one at a time, and we'll go by row, it'll make it easier. We'll start with Bill sitting up first. Yeah, gentleman in the middle.
Chris Herbs, 148 Shreve Street. Mr. Bergari?
Yes, sir.
I have a couple questions about, you're saying that how much truck traffic is going in and out. Approximately how much do you plan on actually recycling per annum? How many in pounds? You say you have a facility in Brunswick, so you should have a similar idea how many pounds you do up there, which will then tell us how many trucks you'll be using to get that amount of equipment or that amount of recycle
At the
process.
most, I would say 20,000 to 25,000 pounds a day will
Okay.
come into the facility.
So 20 to 25,000 pounds a
10
day
tons, give or
is more than 3 truckloads. Would you not
No,
agree?
absolutely.
All right, because these are 16-ounce bottles of soda, for instance, right? And a lot of this volume is gonna be empty volume,
Yeah, I understand.
okay? So I own a little company up north, all right, and all we do is ship, all right? And a load of empty stuff going out weighs about 6,000 to 7,000 pounds, all right? And that's anything from paper to plastic, all right? So that's, if you're doing 25,000 pounds a day, that's 3 to 4 trucks right there. And then if you do 3 to 4 trucks going in a day, all right, 25,000 pounds, the maximum weight of a truck leaving your facility could be 40,000 pounds, correct?
Yeah.
All right, so if you're doing 25,000 pounds a day, that is 125,000 pounds a week on average.
Yeah.
Okay, so now you're generating a truck every day to every 2 days because of volume. You're only gonna be able to put maybe 20 to 25,000 pounds compressed onto one truck.
We ship
So-
close to 55,000 pounds as well if we have overweight permit.
If
From-
you have the overweight
we
permits,
can
but
ship
our
as-
roads are not designed for
No,
that kind of weight
that's not what
because
I meant.
Shreve
I'm
Street,
trying to-
Shreve Street is barely wide enough for its tenants to park on it. It's a non-truck street, and we've been having problems for over 30 years with the tractor trailers driving up and down it without the township actually doing anything about it, except put a sign up at the end and have the police department come along and tell us, they can direct traffic down Shreve Street as they wish to, because that's how it is. I was pulling off of Shreve Street and a truck started coming down Shreve Street, and I was told I had to move because I was in the wrong, because the truck driver needed to get down our street that is clearly marked no trucks. There's this section right at Clay Street where your property is, all right, and you have an entrance at Hume Street. All right, that's where the welding shop is, all right? Are you going to make that as your main entryway? Can you put that as a marker for your address, so that way the trucks come down that street like they're supposed to access to your facility, and not come down Hume, make a left onto Clay, make a right onto Shreve again, come in front of Tom and Carrie's house, and go into the driveway there, all right? Not to mention the fact that you are currently, just with your own numbers, are showing that there's more truck traffic coming than is currently coming into that facility.
But
All
that's
right.
not correct.
Well-
So, yeah. So, I have amongst us today, Mr. Edward Bush. He ran this facility for 15 years, the previous owners. So he can give you more exact numbers. Okay. He can give you more exact numbers on the number of trucks that was coming in and going out of that facility every single day, because he ran the facility for 15 years, right? Now, I know about what we intend on doing it, 2 to 3 trucks inbound, 1 truck going outbound on an average. So we are certainly going to reduce the traffic impact on, I don't know the name of the streets that well, but coming into the facility, the previous owner's impact was much more than what our company will be impacting. So that much I can assure you. I don't know what else how to
Yeah.
convince you.
And I also want to emphasize that for the purposes of our application here, the zone allows the use that we're actually applying for. The question in front of the board is not specifically the trucks. We'll amend as the board see necessary down the road if it becomes an issue. However, the purpose of this application is specifically reversing the decision for the C of O and not the operations of the streets, because we don't have any control over that. We have our use that's allowed in the zone and the C of O that hopefully you'll grant. And that's the purpose of being here tonight. We'll accommodate whatever the board, ultimately, if the regulations regarding the streets change, we'll be happy to accommodate. If it turns out that we need to, if we have to come back for a site plan application for any changes that go to the building, and we have to discuss which way the entry is gonna be on that property, we'll certainly entertain that. But for the purposes of tonight, just wanna reemphasize that we're talking about the denial of the C of O and not the attendant circumstances of anything related to the properties around it.
Can I add one last thing to this, please? It's just very small. Is there gonna be another meeting to, discuss what he's saying about the site plan and how the township is going
Depends on the
to?
board's decision at the end of the evening as pertains to the CO. My knowledge states from Romelu that if the change of use were to change, the requirement for a site plan, things like traffic studies and how truck routes flow would then be required. But there's no use change of the existing facility, so it would be as it is today.
But the site flow was always never have trucks on Shreve Street, which is clearly marked no trucks, and yet clearly it has been done. That's why I'm asking if there's some sort of site plan that's going to be looked at some point.
I would have to say that based on what the owner had said of the facility, that he's more than willing to work with everyone as it pertains to the truck traffic that's on there, even though that's not what this meeting is about as it pertains to the application. I would just say that because we bring up and even more so with the town council meeting as it pertains to flow of traffic on that street. But it sounds like he's more than, able to discuss and make sure that the trucks go down the appropriate street versus the wrong street.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We're gonna start in the first row and then go into the back to make it simpler. Is anybody in the first row that wishes to make any comments? Mike?
Thank you. Michael Rothmel, 33 Union Street. Just a couple of things. First of all, you indicated that you're going to be mostly receiving plastic scrap and mostly using conveyors and balers. What else besides that are you going to do at the facility?
Those are the pieces of equipment that will be there on the facility.
Yeah, and that you said mostly. Is there any other equipment that's
No,
going to be there? And then it's your testimony that the ARIMA machines are somewhere else and you're not doing any melting in Mount Holly.
No, those machines are already installed at Branchburg. We'll
Okay.
be putting back into operation in October.
Now, I guess in 10/27/22, you did an interview, and you indicated that that you had in your New Brunswick facility, you had thousands of bales piled to 25 feet high, stretching back to the end of your warehouse, and some of them they're so long that you said that you may start charging for storage. I think the township only allows 2 weeks worth of storage of recyclables in its ordinances. I thought I read that. What are you going to do to make sure your in and out meets the 2-week standard as opposed to what you've been doing in New Brunswick with
I am not
months-long
aware of
storage?
any 2-week standards. What you are looking at are the market dynamics of this business, okay? There will be times where there may be material more than we would like to have it in the warehouse. And that's why you have a warehouse in the first place, that you should be able to store it if the market is not accepting. So markets go up and down, and that may result in sometimes temporary overstocking of bales in the facility. So I don't think so I have material in our facility and somebody will come say that it is more than 2 weeks old, then you need to ship it out. I'm not aware of if there is any kind of a regulation like that. But if there is, I would like
We'll
to.
meet any standard that is.
Yeah.
is required
And
of us.
you also indicated a 3 to 5% rejection rate, but in the article on 10/27/22, you indicated that 60 to 70% of the plastic bales will get recycled. So what are you going to do with the other 30 to 40% of the
60
waste?
to 70% of the bales
Get
we are going to recycle ourselves. Some bales will also leave our facility to be recycled at other places. That's what it means.
And I guess the author indicated that he had put tracking devices and in some of his garbage, and he indicated some of it was sitting there in your New Brunswick facility for 4 months, from April to August. Do you
Yeah,
think
we
that's
may not
gonna-
have reached
gonna
to the
happen?
sorting of that box. It is quite possible.
And you also, I guess, indicated in your press release in January 22 that you anticipated having 8 million pounds a month coming to the Mount Holly facility.
But as I said earlier, that has all changed. That's why we bought a new facility in Branchburg, because this facility is nowhere close to or has the resources to receive that kind of volume. So the whole business model of melting and plastic is now shifted to Branchburg, which you are more than welcome to.
And
come
then,
see.
what are you going to do, like, when you get plastic bottles that may have caustic chemicals in them, cleaning materials and pollutants, what do you do with them once you get them?
I mean,
And-
for the purposes of this application, they get bail like everything else. I mean, and they go to some other places, but that's part of the calculus of the sorting and the batching,
And what,
for the purposes of the town.
what happens to the
Okay.
stuff that's
So-
inside the bottle? so to
Always, it
speak?
is possible there will be some residue that may come into the facility. It's not like every single individual is, which they should be doing, is to make sure the bottle is empty and rinsed, but sometimes they don't. So we have, maybe a drum that if there is some liquid, we'll pour into it. And then it gets sent to an incinerator wherever it needs to go. So we follow whatever is expected of us. And you will come and see the facility, you will understand what I'm talking about.
And let's see. So basically, and are you going to have tractor trailers coming down the street? Is that what you?
Some
what-
deliveries could be on tractor trailers.
So and then in an email to Paul Hardiford, 11/1/22, you indicated that you'll be doing similar operations to the New Brunswick facility.
Mike, this is the last question.
Yeah, okay. Now, doesn't New Brunswick facility do more than just sort and bale?
Sorting is one of the operations we do in New Brunswick facility.
Right, and baling, but you said it's gonna be similar, but doesn't New Brunswick
No,
facility?
it will not be mimicking everything we do in New Brunswick facility here. It is not of that size.
Okay, move to the second row.
You got one here, ready?
Sorry, didn't see you there.
No, it's all good. No, it's all good. Nick Sedano, 47 Garden Street. Do I need to swear?
You swear,
I swear.
you swear affirm to tell the truth in any of your comments.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hello, Mr.
Hello,
Solano.
welcome.
Thank you.
I'm all about the traffic with this, and, we're hearing a lot about what it could be. My understanding is that the rule, and I believe it's 135H, says that traffic is not supposed to go through a residential zone. So I think I might disagree with you that there's nothing having to do with traffic. I believe there is.
Well, on Hull Street?
Home.
Hume, thank you. Hume?
Hume.
Hume, okay, Hume Street. There's industrial on that one side of the street. So if we're gonna split hairs about what's what and who's where, sure, one side of the street's residential and one side of the street's industrial. So if we're gonna go down that street, we're definitely not going through a residential zone, because at least there's industrial on one side. By that same logic, if you're gonna say that you're going through industrial, then or residential, then the other side's industrial, we're saying we're going through industrial. I already understand that the trucks are not allowed down Shreve Street, you know, and if the traffic has to be directed down Hume, then that's the way it's gonna have to be. But, again, for the purposes of this application, it's about a C of O for what's going in. The traffic itself, we don't have to travel through a residential zone to get to where we're going, ultimately. That's one of the factors, and that was one of the ones we met, so.
So you're saying Hume is not a residential, it's not going through a residential zone?
Yes, because there are industrial businesses on the one side of the street, so it's either, it can't be just one of them.
Can I ask whether or not the vehicles ever get onto Shreve? In other words, do they come up Hume, make that right onto Clay, and then go back onto Shreve and then into the facility? Or do they just go straight in? I don't know if there is a straight in to the facility.
Straight in, it sounds like is what
There is a straight in the facility.
So they never get onto Shreve Street?
they don't have to,
Okay.
same way.
One person at a time.
I don't know how they get, I don't know how do they get into the facility?
Even,
It-
even today, if I put Shreve Street on the map, I get routed to the.
Yeah, same, that's how we got here tonight.
Exactly.
In fact, you can go straight into the facility off of Hume. You don't ever have to get on the Shreve, but you can, and that's where the face of the building goes, is on Shreve. For office traffic.
Yes.
For office traffic.
Not
For mail delivery.
Not for
Yeah.
truck traffic?
Yeah.
Right. All right. So I want to point out that this is something I've raised with council. There is a problem with Shreve Street. It has not been addressed by our engineering yet, as far as I understand. But that street is slowly disintegrating, it's sloughing off because there's a stream that comes by. Extremely heavy trucks going onto that street is not a good idea. So I would urge you to avoid the trucks going onto Shreve.
And we'll do anything we can to make that occur. And we'll abide by any requirement from the town to do so.
That's all I got, thanks.
Thanks.
All right, before we move to the next section, so raise your hand, hold on 1 second. I do want to remind the public that what we're here for is for a CO, be able to provide a CO for them to do something that's already in the permitted use for that zone. If there are questions as it pertains to truck traffic and which way it goes, as pertains to those zones, we do employ you to seek town council and express that because we have no jurisdiction on that at this meeting unless there's a use variance for that. So I know it's nice that you have the ability to have communications with the owner and the attorney that's here, but we cannot address that as a board. So stating that, we're gonna move to a road. Actually, Louis, you have a question?
Yes.
Please stand up, name and address for the.
Luis Lopez, 1911 Drive. Hello and namaste.
Namaste.
Yeah, that means greeting. I wonder, do you have some kind of biohazard detector or radiation detector in case there's something that come in, like an alert, something like
A
that?
radiation detector?
Yeah, something.
Well, Mr. McGurran can speak to it better, but I don't think that.
We can have radiation detector if that's what you would like, but there is no need. We have
There's no
never,
need for it.
we have
Okay.
never.
That's my only question is.
Thank you.
Thanks, Louis. Anybody in the second row?
Rich Carpenter, 135 Hume Street. My only question is, you said you've got material coming in and trash coming out on the stuff that you're not using. Are the trucks open or closed? Is there ever going to be a time when there's trash flying out of the trucks, and going around on the streets?
Good question.
That's a good question. So there will be a trash compactor on site. It's a closed box, compacts and that's where the trash will be going. And once it gets filled, the company, the waste hauling company will come and switch the compactor. It is not like open top type of that will come and we will be loading from the top, no.
And your stuff that's coming to the factory?
Is
You
all
said
closed.
It's in boxes.
In boxes,
But
in
it's
a
also in a
box trailer.
closed container, it's not in open?
No, absolutely not.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
Anybody else in the second row? Third row? Fourth row? We'll start far left of the wall.
Good evening, Craig Matt, 14 Kate Stratton. Sir, I just want some clarification on the household waste stream. Now, we all know Americans are terrible about properly preparing recyclables. As you mentioned, yes, do we sufficiently clean out the spaghetti sauce jar before we toss in recycling? Is there an intermediate process? You mentioned something about collecting waste directly from residents. That may or may not be feasible. But where do you get your household waste streams, and are all the items in these streams pre-processed before they come to you?
First of all, I want to say we don't consider it as a waste stream. When you use the word waste, then you are somehow saying that it is garbage, right? It is not. It is a valuable, recyclable stream. And when you talk about this spaghetti jar and all that, those kind of items you can put it in your municipal recycling bin. You don't need to send it to us, right? But items which are, which are hard to recycle, which are not taken by the municipal bin, right? In that you can put your jugs and milk jugs and orange juice bottles and all that. But things that I mentioned, that is not going in that bin, is what we will take and find value and create value.
So you will not actually be collecting directly or through intermediaries the other sort of household?
No.
recyclables? Okay.
That is a MRF. That's a materials recovery facility.
Understood.
That's a great point you pointed. So that goes, that is sometimes handled by the county or, by the township. But this is an effort to collect, waste or scrap that is not accepted by that stream.
Thanks very much.
Yes.
Yes.
Hi there, Kerry
Hello.
Sharp.
Kerry Sharp's 225 Shreve Street, right across the street. What do you think of that?
Thank you, neighbor.
Oh, pleasure, well, would hope. So just 2 points. One, noise. And when you're crushing the plastics, the noise that comes from that is staying in the building, or is it going out? Am I gonna be hit with all that noise?
No.
And the vibrations of that? Vibration?
These are not big, MRF type machines, which will be put outside and it's like.
So I can
makes
sleep comfortably.
all you.
Okay.
We will ensure that.
No worse than you could sleep before, let's put it that way.
That's true. Second thing, from the GDP submission, landscaping. It says there shall be established along the line of any lot as contiguous to any residential district a belt of landscaping or fence or wall as the planning board may require. Adequate to screen the operations of such lot from normal observation from within such residential district. Such screening currently exists as there is a fence and a thicket of trees and bushes on the property line that is adjacent to the residential area. Actually, there's maybe 2 or 3 trees, and it looks like this. It looks like an ugly, rusty fence, and it's not beautiful landscaping. As you said it exists, but it doesn't. So maybe you have to look at that.
I mean, the nature of the screening would be for a site plan application, something in the future, if we were gonna actually make a revision to the property. For the purposes of today, the C of O doesn't require
But
an
can you
update.
promise us that you're gonna do something like that and not just get the C of O?
If the board if this board or another board requires us to do it, we'd be happy to abide by the nature of that board. I mean, that's just the nature. Please, go ahead.
We are going to be responsible neighbors. You will be happy to have us there. That building is more of my building than yours. You think I will not be worried if some people will come and say that, oh, this is not looking nice. So when we move in, we have to take care of it that it is one of our own, right? So when you come for a cup of coffee and see our facility, you will be pleased with the landscape.
And
Come summer, let summer come and then you will see.
And if I say to you, there's too much noise, or the landscape, it looks like crap, you'll understand?
Yes,
and you
I
won't-
will understand
That's
and
all.
I will fix it.
You heard him say it. Got that on camera?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Randy?
Randy Roswell, 32 Union Street. Now, you're saying that materials come to you already like in boxes, and everything's enclosed, so like when the material comes, there isn't any chance of it, I mean, there's a creek nearby, there's no chance of you contaminating or anything escaping materials from your facility that would then pollute the nearby creek or facilities around you. I just wanna confirm that everything could be contained and nothing's going to be material, either pre-processed or post-processed, somehow, contaminated, because we do have, a creek nearby that we don't wanna pollute, obviously.
Totally understand your concern, and our surrounding, our environment, our creek is one of our valued property, valued assets, right? And we will not because of our operation that something detrimental will happen to that stream or to the neighborhood. No, that is not what we are known for. That is not what we do. Is quick way to make some money. No. That is, so please be assured, you have to give us a chance to prove us what we are saying. You need to welcome us, you need to give us the blessing to start operating this, and then come and see it for yourself. That's what we do. We make recycling happen. You need to allow us to come here to see, and then you'll be proud and you can tell your neighbor, you can tell your friends and relatives that we have a facility in our town that what you thought was going to landfill is not, and it is being processed and sent to recycling.
I just wanna make a comment. I happen to work for the company, the nonprofit company that helped write that recycle content bill. So I just wanna-
Oh, thank you. Then we have a lot in common. S2513.
All right, going left from Randy. Yes, please.
Jenna Champion, 3 Birch Avenue. First off, let me congratulate you. You are one of the only people on the internet that has nothing bad said about them from anybody, anywhere, for any reason. It was really hard to find some articles on your company that said actually what you do, which is you collect things that could be recycled. You are not actually recycling them. You are collecting what otherwise would be known as garbage, putting them in a conveyor, sorting the garbage, putting the garbage into another box for somebody else to recycle. So you are not recycling yourself. So Mount Holly does not allow trash dumps. So if you're only collecting garbage and you're not actually doing the recycling yourself, little questionable on whether the CO is just about the fire. Now, second thing, from your numbers, you said roughly 25,000 pounds a day. So let's go with 8 million pounds a year. If 0.5%, through no fault of your own, escapes, windy day, a storm, Superstorm Sandy, the compactor, the guy doesn't get close enough, if just 0.1% escapes, we now have 40,000 pounds of trash a year that goes from your parking lot through the drain with an illegal pipe directly into the Rancocas. Now you're into the Burlington County Park System. How do you intend to stop 40,000 pounds, 0.5% of the garbage that you're collecting, sorting, and storing from entering our town?
8 million
First of all, that 0.5% of 8 million pounds, turns out to be 40,000 pounds. That math is correct. What is not correct is material, because it is enclosed and processed inside a building. Unless the storm comes and the whole roof is blown or something like that, if happens, things happen, right? If there is a tornado that hits in the building, then there is more to worry about than some of the plastic that is going, So apart from that, I don't think so. Your fears are unfounded. Let's put it that way.
Do your trucks, the tractor trailers, go into the building to unload?
Oh, totally. It will be backed.
No, not back in, enclosed entirely. Do they go in to the building, a door comes down, not a hopper, not a bay, but if they don't drive in, you shut a door, then you're relying on a third party, whoever's driving that tractor trailer, whoever you're getting paid by, because none of this makes financial sense, because you're not buying a $6 million building, paying $100,000 a year in property taxes with what you're making sorting Ziploc bags. So something's not adding up. You must be getting paid from somebody else to do the work, not actually from what you say you're recycling.
You want to know the model of my business now? But that's fine, that's fine. What your question is valid. We are in the business, profit is one of the driving force, but it is not the only driving force. So there are vendors who will pay us to do the sorting for them and then make that stream recyclable. So that's our business model.
So you're not recycling.
Sorting will make recycling possible. If
No,
we
but
are
you're
not,
recycling.
we are not recycling at this facility. We are making a,
So this is a trash collection facility.
absolutely not. I don't agree with that. It is not a trash collection
If I
facility.
accidentally take a plastic bag and drop it into the wrong bin, then it becomes trash versus recycling. But you're not actually taking my plastic bag out of either one and doing something else with it. You're not making something, which is what recycling is.
There are many ways of, see, recycling is a process, right? Collection and sorting is an integral part of making recycling happen.
And I agree.
Please understand that.
Yes.
So
But
when you
that's
talk about
what-
recycling, you're talking about washing and grinding and then pelletizing and melting that plastic scrap into some kind of a product. But what we do to make sure that those companies have a stream or have what is
Don't
known
worry
as
about what's in Mount Holly.
machine ready, huh?
Just worried about what's in Mount Holly. That's it.
Well, if you let us put extruders, we will put extruders, but there is not enough space here. You see, there is not
How
enough.
big of a mistake? Did you not look at the building?
Your
before
time
you
is
said-
up, thank you. Moving on to the left. Go ahead.
Tom Greenfield, 225 Shreve Street, Mount Holly, New Jersey. I'm directly across from you. You just, there was a couple of things said tonight. I have other comments when we get to the town council that did make me a bit nervous. One was, you said basically we function from 8 to 3. We are not a third, we don't have a third shift. Do you have a second shift? No, so it's only 8 to 3. The other thing that made me
We may have
nervous-
some overtime sometimes, they may work till 5, then it will be overtime.
That's fine. The other thing that you said is when it came to the sorting, you mentioned that like, well, yeah, and if we ever change our plan, we'll come back and ask. Which leads me to believe that as soon as you get your foot in the door, after a year, we're gonna start looking at, well, we're gonna expand and add some pelletizing machines. Or we need to crunch things. And this is what makes me nervous. When I went over your application for the CO, and I saw the stuff about the landscaping, and that there's a vacant lot across from you, and I caught all this stuff, I said, they're not being really upfront with us. It doesn't seem right that there's all this, yeah, we're telling you what you wanna hear, but we're gonna hold this in reserve. We'll come back to the board and we'll ask about, machines that break and crush things when we get to it. And that's one of the things that makes me nervous. I've got a couple of other questions. I wanna know what size bales go out of the place and what kind of compressor you use. I've got, I'm having trouble right now with the amount of traffic on Shreve Street with the heavy trucks. Cracks are starting to form in the walls of my house that have never been there but for the last year and a half. And I'm going, your traffic might be up on you, but what about when you start to bring in things to tear up the plastic, or you decide to go to pelletize things? What is, I don't like this step by step. Yeah, we're only sorting. And if we need to do anything else, we'll come back to you. We promise. And I just kind of go, I don't want you in there if you're going to, in 1 year, expand and tell us, oh, yeah, we do need to shred plastic. And so, all I want to say is, it's not even a question. I'm sorry, I feel like your company is not being upfront with us. And the fact, and you're telling us what is all the nice things to hear, but I don't trust you that within a year or two, you're not gonna be back here. Or within a year or two, we're going to have 10 trucks a day up on Yulm Street. And if I'm not mistaken, I think it's already, there's a certain thing about an overburdened community. And for being of mixed use, we have 4 places that use huge trucks right up on Yulm Street. So they've already got those traffic. We've got 2 other places up on Shreve Street. We're getting a hell of a lot of truck traffic. And like I said, I'm finding cracks in the facades of my house, which is stone. I don't understand it. I've been in that house for 35 years. I've never had this problem before, up until the last year and a half. So I'm really nervous about you guys moving in next door. And that's all I have to say.
So your concern will have some merit if suppose this building was empty for 20 years and we all of a sudden decide to move it. Your concern should have been raised with the town when you saw the crack. You didn't see the crack because of us, right?
No, that has nothing to do
Right.
with you.
So what we can assure you that the previous owner, we know is the traffic impact because of our business will be lower than the previous owner. That much, let me finish please. Okay? That much I can assure you. Number 2, in the future, do I need to put another baling machine? Do I need to put another shredder? I don't know. I cannot say yes or no right this second. Nobody knows the future. We may have to, we may grow out of this facility. We already think that this is a little too small for us. So it is, we may end up selling it. So there are many options to us that we will exercise when that time will come. I cannot tell you right now, in one year what I will be doing. I cannot tell you that, right? All I can tell you is what we intend on doing that building and within the parameters of what is allowed by the township. That much we will do, if not better.
My point was not that your business has caused the cracks in my walls. I know, it wasn't even the people who were before you. It is simply Subway with Dean's and the guy who parks his trucks. And all the trucks are suddenly coming down this street. And I'm built onto the side of the hill on Shreve. It's starting to crumble, and there's a problem. It's the amount of business out there and people using these huge trucks to transport it. You're just going to add to that problem. That's all I'm saying.
Actually gonna subtract from the problem, given the previous owner. Actually, it's gonna be less traffic over time than there was a year ago.
Thank you. Are there any more comments from the public? Anyone in the hallway, can't see by the door? Got one.
Fred Sampson, 314 Mill Street. I'm just curious, you spent, I think, $5 million on the building. Why did you spend that money before realizing that your machinery couldn't fit into it? Doesn't make sense.
I mean, the building is what it is. We're gonna use it for a baling and sorting facility. Change of plan happens all. Go ahead, Mr.
Our company owns 2.2 million square feet of warehouse space all around the country, in 8 states around the country. 300 some odd thousand square feet in New Jersey alone. When we see an opportunity, we see it and we think that yes, this will work. Sometimes it will not work, then we'll find some other use for that building. When we first saw the building, when I first visited the building, I thought that it could be a good building because for melting plastic and making recycled pellets. But then professionals, the engineers, the machine supplier, they all visited the building and they said to put these machines here, we'll have to raise the ceiling, we'll have to do this, and that will cost a lot of money. So we said, okay, we needed more space for sorting, then why don't we move that operation here and buy another building in Branchburg to put the machines, which are 32 feet high buildings. So it's okay. If we bought it, people make mistakes. I could have made one mistake in buying the building at that time, but now I have used for it. The company has used for it, and we will use it, I think. That's not such a bad thing.
Any other questions? All right, seeing none, we'll close the comments, public portion. Take it back to the application, or the name application.
So, we were given this handout, should mark this as exhibit A1?
Please.
We'll mark that as exhibit A1. And as I understand your application, it's an application of candidate denial of the zoning officer's determination for a request for a certificate of continued occupancy.
Right.
And his basis was based on concern about the, meeting the standards, of, I guess, the restrictions, the performance standards for the zone, because it's not one of those uses that neatly fits into the industrial uses as defined in some of the items.
And specific, I'm sorry,
Go ahead, and so the question for the board is whether you find that notwithstanding it doesn't meet specifically within the certain uses, whether you're satisfied from the testimony, which has been sworn testimony in agreement that there's limitations that they have to comply with their testimony, whether you think that that's going to comply with the performance standards for the industrial zone and the use. Do you have any closing or anything that you want to?
The only, Attorney Cardy, the only thing that I would add to that is that specifically as it relates to the performance standards, the interpretation of those standards by the zoning officer was based on a fundamental fallacy about the understanding of the business. That the baling and sorting was not the attention that the zoning officer was paying regarding to the certificate of occupancy specifically. It was to a full-on recycling facility, which this is not. The risk of an objectionable fire, as Mr. Hardifer set forth in his denial, is not an appreciable risk based on the nature of the business that is going to happen, and we've sworn to and testified to as it relates to the Mount Holly facility.
So the question is, you've heard the testimony, which I can say that this happens in other towns, is you get a permit application or whatever, and it's based upon recitation, it gets denied, but sometimes a zoning board may, now that somebody is locked into sworn testimony, say, well, we differ with that interpretation, or you may follow it. So it's up to you in terms of whether you think this meets the performance standards for industrial zone, which has broad industrial uses being permitted in the zone.
So Lou, how do you propose we proceed with a vote on whether it does or does not?
Yeah, based upon the testimony provided, based upon the limitations as described, and that they would have to be maintained, even accepting them, do you find that, yes, it meets the performance standards for the use for the industrial zone, such that the determination of the zoning officer should be overturned and the certificate issued? Or, no, you've heard everything that's said and you're affirming the zoning officer's determination?
Can I say something in the closing statement? Is it me?
Go right ahead.
So, I think fire seems to be a cause of concern in our operation. If you see what the previous owner was doing in that building, compared to what we intend on doing that building, it is so much minimal that I cannot even describe. They were melting plastic, they were degassing plastic, they had solvents to print on plastic on site. We don't have any of that. All we do is when we receive the material, we are sorting it. It's basically the packaging material that.
Right, I think the board understands
Yeah.
based
Okay.
on what was said, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So with what Ms. Gordy has stated, is there action for the board on whether material to be allowed.
Or any discussion by board, any questions you have or discussion items you want?
No. You got anyone else have any questions?
We're not deciding on the trucks.
No, that's a township board, that's a township issue.
I mean, that's really, first of all, if they're going down the wrong street, that's an enforcement issue, and this is not an enforcement board. If there's just, this has not been for a site plan, if they don't comply with the limitations of the use, then they could be forced to come back for a use variance or other site plan. So that's not addressed.
So also for the, proposed land use, he says, processing, it will serve as a handling and processing facility of predominantly plastic materials. So what other materials will you be handling and processing?
Some paper products will come.
Paper products.
Yeah, like, Tetra Pak containers, which is made of paper board. Some paper products do come in packaging. That may come at our facility. So, but it is mostly, I would say, 90% is plastic packaging products.
Anybody on the board have any more questions? Do we have a motion?
I motion to give the CEO based on the use that was testified to.
Is there a second for that motion?
Second.
Do a roll call, please, Joe.
And that was to allow the CO to be.
Yes.
Wanna make sure I have it
Sorry.
right. Mr. Banks?
Yes.
Mr. DeFalco?
Yes.
Mr. Parker?
Yes.
Ms. Saucier?
Yes.
Mr. Stafford?
Yes.
Ms. Reed?
Yes.
One last thing, Ms. Gardy, do we have to wait for the resolution to be memorialized next month before he can get his CCO?
No,
Okay.
and would there be a motion, yeah, I mean, the board authorizes the board secretary, and in conjunction with the solicitor, to convey that.
And
So
I'm
you-
the construction person,
Yeah,
so
you're
I'm the person
construction
that's gonna do it.
So, yeah, it's authorizing the reversal.
And so it takes effect like immediately. Actually, I just wanted to know, because I'm sure somebody's gonna be
No, he
contacting
doesn't have to
me.
wait.
Okay, perfect, we don't have to wait. Good.
Understood that in the event that somebody files a lawsuit against you, I mean, that might be
Understood.
subject to a tolling, but they'd have to go through certain hoops.
To say the least.
I'll let Paul know tomorrow.
Great, thank you, board, I appreciate everybody's insight. Thank you.
And before we go into the minutes, I do want to address the public real quick. I'd like to please make sure that if there are issues, like we were describing this evening, as pertains to truck traffic, going down the wrong street, things of that nature, please be observant and please take your commentary and concerns to the town council. They will be the enforcement body as pertains to the traffic, the trucks, noise, and any types of pollution or things that you may see that may occur in the facility. Again, based on the CO that was granted this evening, is based on the existing use here at the board. So again, I just wanna make sure that we understand and hear your concerns. As it comes down to the legal aspect, there is nothing that we can do as a board, as there is no application for us for you to make changes to that at this time. Okay?
When does the township meet?
Next township meeting is
April
what?
10th. April 10th.
April 10th?
April 10th.
6 o'clock right here.
Yeah, same facility.
Yeah.
Same building.
No, go ahead.